Yeah, man. Like I would love to know because there was no shortage of storylines, that came out of the combine. Starting with the presumptive number one pick, Caleb Williams. I'd
You
love to
said
know
it
what you
right the
thought
first
about.
time. You said
Which
it right the
what did I
first
say?
time. You
What
said
did I
the
say wrong?
number one,
What up?
and then you changed it to the presumptive number one.
Hey
That
man, look,
dude's the
stuff.
number one pick.
Well, look, he's certainly walking in that. He's acting like it. And props to him. I love it. Like he is like, ain't no
I
plan
put
B.
the work in.
Like,
I
you
put the
know?
work in for it.
Yeah.
You know, that's really the plan. That's what I'm trying to do,
I
y'all.
only qualify it because you and I both know that you never know.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I qualified it. Is old habits die hard. It certainly seems like it's leaning that way. With the Bears taking Caleb Williams at number one overall. I enjoyed Caleb Williams' combine performance. And somebody said, well, what do you mean? He didn't do anything. He didn't participate in anything. I love the fact that he showed up and he upset the natural order of things. He's an agent of chaos. It's introducing a little anarchy. Like no,
He's a
but in all
disruptor.
seriousness, I know seriously because haven't we spent years talking about how unfair this system is? And I'm a draft nerd, draft nerd. But plenty of
I'm a
people,
witness,
as are
right
you,
there with you.
as are you, plenty of
Yep.
people have talked about how unfair this system is, how antiquated the combine is, and antiquated is frankly putting it nicely. Some have gone so far as to liken it to the auction block. But plenty of people have talked about the need for change when it comes to the scouting combine, the need for change when it comes to the economic system and the relationship between team owners and players, how the pie is shared. And so I'm watching Caleb Williams and how he's moving. And, listen, he's not the first, ain't nothing new under the sun. He's not the first guy to not throw at the combine. Hell, he wasn't the only top quarterback prospect in this combine not to throw. But there seems to be a level of angst and tension around the way he's moving and the way he's speaking or the way he is, or he or his father for that matter, or maneuvering behind the scenes that has people on edge. And I'm here for it. I'm here for him. He doesn't have an agent, but he can still be an agent of change. And I'm here for somebody having agency and ownership over his process. Because I think way too much is made of a guy choosing not to fall in line, as if NFL royalty has not
That's what it is.
decided I'm not going to play in San Diego or I'm not going to play in Baltimore. As if there's not a precedent. And he hasn't even said this. He has come out and
Right.
said, I don't care about the Bears' history or lack thereof at quarterback. I'm here to rewrite history and make my own history. So he has not even said where he is or isn't going to go in accordance with the draft process. Maybe my man just wants, I don't know, inquiring about equity because maybe star players should. I'll get to this guy in a moment, but if the owner thinks enough of the quarterback to sit in on the combine meetings, talking about Josh Harris,
Right.
then it stands to reason, and the quarterback has always been an extension of management anyway, then it stands to reason that maybe the quarterback should be entitled to a piece of the pie. Maybe more star players should be entitled to a percentage of the salary cap. And this, again, I'm not breaking new ground here. This is an ongoing conversation. I'm just saying I'm here for a guy upsetting the natural order of things, or bucking the system. Maybe he should be asking about how he can get equity share in a team. I don't mind it. This is a new generation. This is a new day. As you and I like to say, we don't roll like that no more, dog. That day is dead. This is a $10+ million a year NIL guy coming out of USC. And so I think this combine for him was less about the business of showing against air and in underwear what we've seen on film for the last several years at USC. I feel like it was way less about that and more about simply, do people like him? Do people like Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
Do teams like him? And it only takes one, obviously. Do the Bears like him? Do media members like him? Do fans like him? do wannabe Chris Mortensons and insiders everywhere like him? Because it's like he's already handled the business side, and the business is going to take care of itself. There was nothing for him to prove at the combine, nothing for him to show at the combine, nothing for him to gain at the combine. Like, you're the number one pick. You can't gain anything, higher than number one, right? It's really the commentary around him at this point is so much less about the football, and it's more about, are you feeling this dude or not? It's really that simple. And I think the people who have concerns about him, and I'm not saying there aren't legitimate concerns about him from a football standpoint. I get the criticisms about him not playing in structure as well as he does off schedule.
That's a criticism?
Sure. I get that there are that a lot of that probably had to do with his supporting cast or lack thereof. I'm saying, like, he's not a perfect prospect is what I'm getting at. But it feels like a lot of the commentary and a lot of the coverage around Caleb Williams has long since stopped being about the player and more about how he's playing the game, capital T, capital G.
Well, yeah. I'm glad you went to the historical references. John Elway at Stanford played for his dad and didn't want to play for the then Baltimore Colts. He did not want to do it. And he even threatened to, he was a baseball player, he threatened to play for the Yankees. That wasn't happening, but he threatened it. It was enough leverage to get the Colts to trade him to the Broncos. And before we get to Eli, you talk about Eli and Archie setting that up, of like, hey, Eli, we don't want you to go to the Chargers. We want to put you somewhere else. Even before that, people forget that Peyton Manning had an opportunity to come out of Tennessee a year early. He had an opportunity, and the Jets had the number one pick. And the speculation is he did not want to play for Bill Parcells and the Jets. So he held on in Tennessee and then wound up in Indianapolis in 1998. So, look, quarterbacks have always the prospects who are worth it, whether it's Bo Jackson too, just like when they got power, it's very rare that you're going to hold on to that power the majority of your career. Use and exercise that power when you have it. And Caleb Williams has it right now. He does have power.
Has a quarterback who looked like him had this kind of power or exercised it.
No.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, they have not. And that also factors in here. Because I know the NFL doesn't like anybody of any complexion. Whether you've been kissed by the sun or not, the NFL does not like you to say, well, I don't know, I'm not really feeling that. The way you've done this for years and years and decades, I don't really like it. But for a young black man to do it, I'm sure that has raised some eyebrows, furrowed some brows, turned some stomachs. But I'm not even getting to Caleb Williams, Michael, on his suggestion at one point that maybe needs a part of ownership. I'm not even getting into the equity of it. Simply, he knows he's going to be, at worst, the third pick in the draft. And that's a stretch.
Yeah.
And so why are you here? I'm totally on board with this. Whether you like Caleb Williams or not, why am I going to stand here in my underwear and allow myself to be poked and prodded by all of these folks for every team in the league when every team in the league is not going to draft me? I'll do it for 3.
Let's be realistic about this.
I'm doing it for I'll do it for 3,
and
maybe.
And is he doing
anything?
I'm
not crazy about that.
Is he doing anything that NBA players haven't done for years when it comes to the draft process?
Well, people don't like it. And they don't like that with NBA players either. Like, it's so interesting that people who in their normal lives, with their own jobs, with their own careers, feel like they should have a say in what goes down and like what's best for them. But then if they start looking at other people's careers in sports, a lot of times they take an issue. What's wrong with these guys? Where did they get off? The entitlement. What's wrong with Let's go back. Old school guys wouldn't do that. No, they couldn't. And now when you can, take advantage of it if you can. Everybody in this draft class can. There's some guys who don't know if they're going to be drafted in the 3rd round or the 5th round. So they will march along and they'll do everything that's expected. Caleb Williams knows that he's going to be a day one guy. He's going to be a first hour guy. And so he is moving
first 15 minutes
like that. Yeah.
Remember back in the day?
I think, and, the other thing I'm saying is I'm glad he's having the conversations with people, because what happens is when you don't talk a lot in the media, so it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you talk a lot in the media, it's, hey, why don't you shut up? He always got something to say about this. Why don't you just focus on the game? So you can talk too much for some people, but if you don't talk that much, like Caleb Williams doesn't, now you allow other people to come in and kind of create your story. And I'm glad that he was there to say, no, here's my story.
And he handled it.
This is who I am.
He handled it beautifully. He handled it with poise and professionalism. So remember back in the day, it was like, Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. Remember that slogan?
Oh yeah.
It's like Caleb Williams is in many respects the face of a new generation, because these dudes get paid for their time now. These dudes don't do a whole lot for free. I'm talking about the star college players. If things are not going according to plan, they transfer. B, because I thought about Cam Newton for a second, or even think about Johnny Manziel boycotting the Heisman ceremony until Reggie Bush gets his trophy back. You know how stupid the controversies, and they were dumb at the time, because we knew how much money Reggie Bush was making for USC and Cam Newton for Auburn, respectively. We knew how much they were making then. Look at how dumb those controversies and those scandals look with the benefit of hindsight, and how far we've come since the days of Cecil Newton taking money allegedly for Cam Newton in his recruiting process. That's standard now. Okay? So these NIL kids, NIL kids don't show up for free. And they also realize that the bigger a show the NFL makes the combine, the bigger a television production the NFL makes the combine, the more valuable their appearances are. The more, so they don't, for all the football reasons you talked about, 32 teams ain't drafting me. So 32 teams don't need my medical history.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.